All right, what's up, everyone? It's been a while. We're back with a new YouTube channel, new podcast name, Dugout Station. I'm Julian Gallardi.
I'm Sandy Molinares.
So we're both so excited to be back. We've been working on a lot of things behind the scenes. We're prepping for spring training now in a few weeks. Got a big docket here to discuss prospects. We've been having a lot of fun with the prospects on our YouTube channel, doing all these video analysis and highlights and making these new graphics and thumbnails. And now we're going to go through that. We're going to go through international signings, spring training competition, the bullpen. Are we doing anything else before spring training with the Yankees up top? The left field crisis. Who's your fifth starter? These are some of the storylines today. Which one do you think pops out at you the most, like out of the stuff we just ran down?
Prospects?
Yeah, all right. So prospects have been a big conversation. That's a good place to start because this guy named Kylie McDaniel on ESPN just did a new rating system. It's a lot different than most people's. He has Austin Wells on his list. He ranks him 58th overall, which is higher than I've seen him anywhere else. He puts Trey Sweeney in there as well at 88. And he's chose Spencer Jones, Dominguez, Peraza, Volpe. So he has a lot of opinions on the Yankees prospects here.
Yeah, let's talk about the big four prospects that we're going to see coming up. Volpe, obviously.
Yeah, so it always starts with Volpe.
It always begins with Volpe.
It always begins with Volpe. So he's the top dog, obviously, but that does not mean he's going to be the first one that gets the first crack at the job because Peraza's ahead of him. But we'll go with Volpe. I mean, what I saw last year was great stuff. You know, we hit the 20 home runs. His OPS was just over 800, but he's one of the few players besides Andrew Jones, actually, I believe is the only other guy to do this, to go 20 homers and 50 stolen bases in the minor leagues at that age. Yes. So that's very noteworthy. You know, the new rules are something that we're going to get into at some point, not fully on this podcast, but another one, I believe. The bases being bigger and the leads and less pickoffs is going to help his game as well. You might see more stolen bases. Anthony could end up being a 30-plus steals guy. I don't know about next year because I don't know how much he's going to play. Like, I didn't want to project Peraza and Volpe yet because we don't know how much they're going to end up playing.
I mean, we can compare their numbers as we had in your video that that we have on YouTube. You guys make sure you check it out. Our comparison between Volpe and Peraza, only the offense numbers, 21 home runs, 19 home runs. That's kind of about the same. But as far as RBIs and stolen bases and OPS, Volpe pretty much has the upper hand, or
you're right,
the lead basically when it comes to those numbers.
You have a good comparison between these two. If you put them both together, it's an exciting prospect for the Yankees, or prospects, we could even say, because it's going to help this team. It's going to give them some life. It's going to give them some speed, some energy, that youth infusion that we saw Oswaldo give them last year, which was nice. So I think it's going to be fun to see what happens here. Obviously,
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
To see them. Yeah.
Obviously, you can't have them both up right now or at any point in time with the way this roster is currently constructed. When you have Torres and IKF in the mix and Donaldson, there's just too many people. You can only have space for one of them right now. So you're going to have to move some things around, which is a discussion we'll definitely touch on.
Yes.
So,
right. So the third prospect that has been getting a lot of limelight is Jason Dominguez, which you also covered. You did a great breakdown on him, highlight with his analysis and everything. How do you feel about Dominguez for this new upcoming season?
I think Dominguez is in a very good spot. I don't think he's going to be the Yankees' next left fielder, which I said in the video because people are trying to get creative with the left fielder. No, it's not him yet. Let's slow the brakes down a touch. I love how he ended the season, as I've talked about, how he hit those home runs in the championship game. He ended up going 2 in the last game, 1 from each side of the plate to cap off the season. Beautiful. Looks like he's going to start in Double-A. I got a fun little tidbit for everyone. The emails I've been getting have Dominguez on the ticket display in AA, so it seems like they're very well planning for him up there.
Awesome.
Which is cool. So he's not going to have to go backwards. We'll get to start the season with a nice storyline with him, and it's going to be fun to see how he progresses. I mean, his plate discipline I've talked about a lot, improving. I think that's something that's been noteworthy. I've even seen it. He's been more patient at the plate. The one thing I think is important with him is that he's definitely better from the left side, but the right side's catching up. So I think that's something that's noteworthy too. His stolen base, his speed, he had 37, which we mentioned in the video. Maybe he can get 40 plus this year. So I
his
think
OPS is at 836 and OBP at 375. That's amazing.
Yes, that's better than I thought it was going to be, because he didn't start the season that well.
Just to have a lefty at bat too, a switch hitter, that's so underrated nowadays.
Yes, I like the switch hitting too, especially for the Yankee Stadium, because we have way too many right-handed bats in that lineup that they're just righties. They got to get some lefty balance. He helps that a lot too. And I think the stadium's made for him, and I'm really excited to see how everything's going to end up playing out with him.
Same. The other prospect was Wells.
Yes, Austin Wells. Austin Wells had I think he also had around 20 bombs as well.
Yes, all of these guys are around 20.
They're all in the range of like 16 to 20 is what we learned. Dominguez 16, Peraza 17. We'll be right in that 20 area. And then
you know what? That says a lot for their coaching down there, for their batting, for their coaching staff. If all these guys are hitting well.
Yeah. No, I think so too. I think it's also the speed training, which Volpe talks about, them putting emphasis on. All these guys have a lot of stolen bases. Even Wells has 16 stolen bags, which is onto the radar.
Yes.
With Austin Wells, I mean, he got ranked in McDaniel's in his new prospect ranking. That's the one that I was saying before, the 58. Another note I'll say with that is that he didn't rank.
Going back to Wells though, Wells' numbers, his fielding, I read his stats, his fielding stats have drastically improved.
Yes, and we mentioned this in the video too, how he cut down from his pass balls from 16 to 4. His stolen base call percentage went up like from 12 to 25. His release time's getting better. Is he going to be an amazing defensive catcher? Probably not, if we're going to be honest here. But can he be suitable for the major leagues if he keeps putting in the work? At least be like average range to like maybe peaks at a little above average, like just not too far below average. I mean, yeah, that could possibly happen. Like, we don't want a Gary Sanchez situation with his defense. Like, it has to be at least better than that.
What are your thoughts about first base? Having him as a first base backup. We know that Rizzo can he did lose some time last year due to his back injuries. So what are your thoughts on Wells possibly fitting into a first base role?
You know, I've thought about this a little bit, and I think it could make some sense, but they also seem to want to try him out in the outfield too. And if you put him in left field, let's say not this year, obviously, he would be a lefty bat out there. I mean, he has shown he has enough speed to do it, but I think first base is probably more realistic. If you're going to change him, it's probably a little bit easier. But I don't think he's going to get changed at this point. I think he's committed to catching, like we've said. That's what he wants to do. I think that's what the Yankees want him to do. But I could play devil's advocate with you. What if there's a situation where the Yankees just need some lefty pop and like no one's getting it done, and like they need someone to give a spark on the left side and he's not ready to catch? Would you try to put him in another position?
Yes.
And maybe you could DH him if you put Stanton in left field.
Yes, that's a good, or I mean, I was thinking like if we can possibly use DH spot also for Judge, my thinking, to give him some
time
rest also. But yeah, I like where you're going.
Yeah, so I mean, with Giancarlo, like someone that said in the hot takes thing, which I was doing Yankee hot takes, Stanton was a popular figure. Someone said the Yankees are better if he's a full-time left fielder, and I kind of agree with that in a sense, because then you can move other things around, and Oswaldo could play other spots too a little bit. So I thought that was kind of interesting. A lot of people think he could have a big season. I think he could hit 40 plus homers, get back to what he's doing. I'm predicting a healthy season. My numbers might be a bit high for him. I said like 120 RBIs or 110 with OPS like 870 or something, but I think we're due for a big stand season. So I think another thing that's interesting with these prospects, and something we'll end up addressing on another YouTube video, I think Pereira being right outside that 4 to 5 range, kind of floating around that top 100 is interesting. People wondering about Trey Sweeney and Spencer Jones. So I think those three could be the next ones we attack going forward with the hitters at least.
What was Spencer Jones ranked? Do you know?
He's not, it depends how you look at it, honestly. Like, he has a lot of different rankings. Like, he's not in the top 100 yet on Pipeline. He's the 7th ranked prospect for the Yankees right now, but people have different evaluations for him. Some people have him like
That's
top
true.
5. Some people even,
Yeah.
like Hector was saying, yeah, he views him as his 3rd prospect. Like, I was listening in on that little segue, obviously, but it really just depends how you look at it. So let's move past prospects, but actually not exactly, because international signings. So
Yeah.
new prospects. So our class gets headlined by Brandon Maia. This kid's 17 years old. He is Cuban. His hit tools are 50, his powers are 55, overall 55, fielding really good. He's an outfielder, and he's been described as a mini Gary Sheffield and a Cuban Mookie Betts.
No way. No way. When was the last time we had one of those?
It's been a long time. I mean, if you put him in the outfield with Dominguez, that could be exciting.
Intriguing.
If that ends up going together ever. I mean, this kid's only 17. I don't think it's fair to compare to Mookie Betts and Gary. I don't think it's fair to compare him to Mookie Betts and Gary Sheffield personally. I'm just putting out what's been said. Those are high expectations for anyone to live up to.
I mean, it could be not exactly, but just similarities.
Well, I see
that.
They did say many, yeah. So they said many Gary Sheffield. He's got to understand the zone better, they said, but his raw tools are off the chart. And he needs to, and his frame's mature at like 5'11", 175. They're saying he's strong and twitchy. He could stay in center field potentially. And they said he could also move to the corners. It's way too early to know, obviously. He has advanced tools at his age, and he's one of the more exciting players in the class. He was ranked 9th. Yankees gave him $4.3 million to sign, which was the majority of their money.
Wow.
Yep. So here's another interesting dude that we signed, Jerson Alejandro. And this kid's from the DR. We signed him for $400,000, and he's 6'6". He throws 98. He's got a plus change with good commands, and he's 255 pounds.
Big guy.
Yeah, he could chuck the shit out of the ball, it looks like. I don't know how old he is though, because like that information wasn't found. But
dude, I'm excited about our future.
Yeah, our future is better than people realize. I say this all the time. People don't understand the pipeline process here, but you give it a couple years, like this year, you'll start to see some of it. I feel like next year you're gonna really see a lot of it, and then the year after that, you should almost fully see whatever doesn't get traded at that point. So it'll be fascinating to see what happens. Briefly go through the rest of these guys. I'll be honest, I don't know the most about these guys. We'll say we may get one of them on our podcast. Hopefully, we won't say who, but we'll list these guys down. So Gabriel Torero, shortstop from the DR. Gabriel Lara, outfielder from the DR. Richard Moran, outfield from the DR. Joseph Quezada, right-handed pitcher from Nicaragua. Joe Sean Lamson, right-handed pitcher, Nicaragua. Jason Coca, shortstop, Dominican Republic. Emmanuel Vargas, right-handed pitcher, Panama. Jose Rosario, right-handed pitcher from the DR. So that's our class.
So we did international.
Yeah.
Now, let's move on. What are you excited for spring training?
All right, spring training. We're getting down to it. I'll be down there in 2 weeks. We'll be down there together. Yep. We're gonna go through a lot of things. We're gonna preview practices. We're gonna recap practices. We'll have podcast, video, stories, live things, all of it. So, what am I gonna want to capture in this? So, I think we're gonna want to capture the shortstop competition. Obviously, we're gonna want to see how Peraza and Volpe look. We're gonna be less excited to see IKF fire that's gonna be put under his ass, for a lack of a better term, by 2 of our better prospects. So we'll see. Maybe he'll show up and he'll end up taking the job somehow.
He may step up. We don't know.
But I think we all agree Praz is a favorite. Volpe, if he really impresses, who knows? But it's doubtful. I think that he ends up getting it opening day. To the service time things, we're not going to bore everyone with that because we know how that goes at this point.
Yep.
But I think shortstop, like Eric Bolin told us out in the winter meetings, he said that was his top storyline, and I think it still is for the most part.
Volpe?
Yeah, no, well, he was saying the shortstop competition for spring training was his top storyline.
Oh, yeah. I mean, back in the winter meetings, guys, this was the story, and it still is. So
yeah, it's traveling well.
We're definitely we're definitely gonna cover this and go over our views when we're down there.
Yeah, that has to be one of the top ones. Then I'm gonna look at the fifth starter, Clark Schmidt and Domingo Germán. These are two guys that have been around. You know, Germán's 30 in that right now, and then Clark Schmidt he's only started 20 innings pitching in the big leagues, so he hasn't really gotten that big of a look at the starting pitcher. For Domingo Germán, we've seen him do it a lot more, and Germán has had some good moments and he's had some bad moments in there. He's been a little bit up and down at times, but his ERA as a starter is notably higher. It's like a run higher and then when he's in the bullpen, but it's also a lot more innings. So he has 365 Ks and 364 innings in his career. Last year, his ERA was in the threes. So who do you think has the advantage right now between Domingo and Clark? And I'll go into more Clark stuff later.
I was gonna say on paper, who looks better on paper as of now? Clark, huh?
I mean, it depends how you look at it, honestly. I think you could argue Domingo because he's been there before. I think Clark's more appealing because the upside, which is what I like. We kind of know what Domingo Germán is at this point. Yeah. Clark Schmidt's been a lot of back and forth, starter, bullpen, and they've done it with Domingo a little bit too. Mm-hmm. And Clark has some good moments, you know, in the playoffs he struggled, but I do think that if he was given a chance to fully start and just focus on starting, I think it would be beneficial for him. We know the reason why this position is here is because Montas has been very banged up.
Yes, and we also lost another bullpen arm. Chad Green signed with Toronto, so it looks like we're going to need to replace him, huh?
Well, I mean, I would like to see another move. I've talked about Andrew Chafin. I don't think the Yankees will sign him because they're really trying to toe that luxury tax line at $293. Right now we're at $290, so Chafin wants $9 million. Even if he comes down to like 6 or 7, it's still too much for us right now. I think he would complement the bullpen perfectly. But he's not realistic at this moment, unfortunately, unless he moves some things around. I mean, we did get Tommy Kahnle, which is a nice move. Chad's going to be rehabbing for the most part with Toronto this year because he had Tommy gone. So I think that's something noteworthy. And
do you see another signing down the line?
You know, I threw out the idea of Zach Britton coming back, and that idea got thrown to the wolves really quickly. I'm sure. I don't know if
no one liked it.
No one's a fan of that idea, really. It was like a 1 to 3 in bringing him back, so it was 2 to 3 to get rid of him and not bring him back. He's asking for a lot of money too, and he's also been injury prone, so he's not coming back probably. And there's a rumor like if maybe he would do a minor league deal to get his value back up, maybe the Yankees will consider that, but like I don't think it's going to be him. There's another guy named Matt Moore who's been a journeyman starter reliever. He's also a left-handed pitcher, so I think
sorry to interrupt you. Didn't you mention a prospect arm yesterday to me? Who?
Mm-hmm. There's Matt Crook. Matt Crook is a lefty.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen too much of him though, but he is a left-handed pitcher. I know we've talked about Brito and Vasquez. Maybe they could fill in a bullpen starter type role, swingman deal. But right now they both trained extensively to be starting pitchers for the most part. So those are some guys you could look into. And then we have some other guys like Sean Boyle and Will Warren are kinds of lower in the pecking order.
Warren. That's who I'm talking about. Yep.
Yes, Warren is a top pitching prospect. He was in Double-A last year. I think he might get his crack at Triple-A this year, but I would assume he starts in Double. He's a young kid. He was only drafted in 2021. He spent a lot of time in High A last year too. So I think that they want to see a little more in Double-A personally, and then maybe they'll send him to Triple-A. But these are some options. Clayton Beater's another high name. You go look for Yankees Gomez, who we've discussed before. So you do have some options out there for sure.
Good stuff.
Yeah, so now I guess we have to get to left fields.
Do we have to get to left field?
Unfortunately, we do. It's a topic that everyone's still discussing here. It's kind of a dry discussion for me at this point. I mean, we'll go through it all. So you have Aaron Hicks. The Yankees don't want Aaron Hicks, but they're stuck with Aaron Hicks. That's what the situation is right now. Can he get moved in the next 2 weeks or so, or maybe before opening day to open up some money? I hope so. We'll see. They might have to eat half of it. I don't know. Then you got Oswaldo Cabrera, the kid that everyone wants to play left field right now, based on how this roster currently looks. But do we want him?
But his offense is a question. We don't know how he's going to perform, right?
I would say that
offensively.
And do we want him floating around the diamond a little more to spell Donaldson at third base potentially, or move another infield or outfield spot if someone needs a day? Do we want to strictly put him in left field? Do we try putting Stanton out there at least once or twice a week? Just try to piece this puzzle together. Then we got Ortega and Calhoun who got spring training invites.
Yes. I want to see those guys too.
I know you're very into Ortega, and I know some people are starting to believe that he can end up having a shot here. He hits righties really well. He might have a righty platoon role if he has a good spring training. Maybe he could be one of those last bench spots.
Yeah, he looks good.
So that'll be something we're going to have to watch at spring training too, to see how these guys look.
That's what we're going to cover. And any more moves? Do you think the Yankees will go for a move for left field? I just don't see how we could start this spring training without with that question. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean,
have we ever been in this position before? I mean,
well, there was a situation that they said Bubba Crosby was the center fielder and they signed Jacoby Ellsbury like a day later. There was a time we thought we weren't going to sign Mark Teixeira. He gets signed. I mean, so we have been in a certain sense. I don't know if it's been as late as spring training where we had this much uncertainty. Though last year doesn't count because the lockout threw everything off, so I don't even count that. Although they say Gio Urshela is the third baseman, their shortstop, he gets traded the next day too. So we've seen things like this happen before.
That was terrible.
Yeah, that was a bad example. That's a bad example.
Fucking shit. Sorry.
No, I mean, that could have done a better one than that, but it is just a pattern of what he does. Like we thought Gary Sanchez was going to be the catcher, and then they pull Jose Trevino out of nowhere. Like, so we've seen it happen before. I don't know if it's been this late in the spring training with a lockout not being in play. So I'm trying to think of what else would happen here. But I have some ideas. I think that I've talked about Max Kepler at length. I think that's possible.
Yes,
to play too many outfielders.
Profar is asking for too much money.
Yeah, and the way I just explained the Yankees' money situation, I don't really think he's a fit at this moment either.
They don't even want to give Gleyber 500,000, an extra 500,000.
Well, they did cave in. They did cave and do that though, at least, and they did meet in the middle somewhere. So at least they figured that out. Thankfully, they didn't have to take him to court over $500,000, which is just ridiculous. And I do believe that Torres has an all-star season in him. It is on my hot takes edition that he won't get traded and that he will be an all-star. He'll 28 home runs. And I think I said 90 ribbies. So
could be his last year as a Yankee in pinstripes. So I'm definitely going to enjoy it.
Unfortunately, you could be right because the contract situation and the future of the kids. I mean, he only has 2 years left. I think we both agree the Yankees aren't going to give him a big contract, so they're going to have to make a decision within the next year or two. What's going to happen?
To Seattle or Miami, like a fan base that will actually appreciate him and his talent.
Miami would actually be perfect because they need some more offense still, and they just put Jazz in center field, so maybe they could put Torres a second, but. That's a discussion that will be ongoing for this year and maybe even longer. Someone else who I think could have a nice year, and I did prefer Oswaldo. I was gonna say I projected like 18 homers and like around 18 stolen bases. I think OPS like a touch over 800. Yes, that's what I'm projecting, like 65 RBI.
Oh,
yeah, you got to check the thread. I put the thread. It's all there. So
All right, you guys. I mean, make sure you follow us on Dugout Station, YouTube, subscribe to our content if you like what we're doing. We're trying to put out more new things, more breakdowns and voiceovers.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Dugout Stations on Twitter. It's on YouTube. It's everywhere right now. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, even Spotify and Apple. I also dropped some pitching hot takes. If anyone wants to check out the personal for Julian Sandy 1, I mentioned Carlos Rodon, Luis Severino, and Jonathan Loaizica were very popular on that.
Anything else?
My personals, Julian Sandy 11 on Instagram.
Sandy Molinares and Sandy Stats.
Don't forget Hablando.
And Hablando Yanks. Yeah, go give us a follow. We cover Spanish content for the Yankees on there.
Yes, and we did bring back the Chaparro interview, and we are bringing back all of our stuff slowly but surely that was on the other channel. So yeah, it's all going to end up coming back. We want to thank everyone for 100 subs today. We hit our 100 subs today.
Yay!
So we could thank everyone for the first 100. Grinding to get that 1K still, hopefully not too long after opening day or the early stages of this baseball season. That would be what we're trying to do, and try to make a website and a few other things as well.
Yep, we're cooking.
Yep, we are definitely cooking. We're going to try to get some more interviews with these players and some reporters going as well. Sandy, it was great to be back.
It was nice talking again.
Yes, this is just the beginning. We will be doing these like a lot more, obviously, with spring training coming.
Yep.
We got to get back in the flow, and now we have our foundation set up.
Yep. Thank you guys for watching.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone, and hopefully you guys enjoy this episode, everyone listening.